Did you know? There's a room in the heart of Vatican City where all electronic signals are cut off. No phones, no recordings, no outsiders, just silence, sealed doors, and ballots that decide the future of over 1 billion people. Imagine 133 men, dressed in crimson, walking solemnly beneath Michelangelo's frescoes, while ancient Latin prayers echo through one of the most sacred spaces on earth. This isn't just ceremony, this is history being written in real time. In an age of artificial intelligence, skepticism, and crisis of faith, how does one man get chosen to lead 1.3 billion Catholics worldwide? And what really happens behind those closed Sistine Chapel doors? Welcome to Podcast Name, where today we journey inside one of the world's most mysterious and powerful traditions, the Conclave of 2025. Following the death of Pope Francis, 133 cardinals from over 70 countries have gathered to elect the next Bishop of Rome, the next Pope. But this is not a simple vote. It's a ritual rooted in centuries of tradition, filled with symbolism, secrecy, and spiritual weight. In today's episode, we'll walk you through every stage of this sacred process. The morning Mass at St. Peter's Basilica, the hauntingly beautiful Litany of the Saints, the solemn procession into the Sistine Chapel, and the oath of silence that marks the beginning of the conclave. This is a moment of transition, not just for the Catholic Church, but for global religious leadership in a world grappling with change. If you've ever wondered how the world's most enduring spiritual institution chooses its next leader, beyond the headlines and the white smoke, then stay with us. Let's begin on the morning of May 7th, when prayer and pageantry merged beneath the dome of St. Peter's Basilica. The morning Mass, invoking the Holy Spirit before the vote. It's the morning of May 7th, 2025. The cobblestone square outside St. Peter's Basilica is quieter than usual. Inside, however, something powerful is beginning. The great bronze doors have opened to welcome the princes of the church, the 133 cardinal electors, from every corner of the globe. At the altar of the most iconic church in Christendom, they gather not to speak, not to vote, but to pray. The Mass they are celebrating is called Pro Eligendo Romano Pontifex, which means for the election of the Roman Pontiff. It's a centuries-old liturgy offered to invoke the guidance of the Holy Spirit before the monumental task of choosing the next Pope. This isn't politics, this isn't strategy, this is the Church asking God to speak through them. The Basilica is filled with the sound of Latin chant. The cardinals, clad in vibrant scarlet vestments symbolizing their willingness to suffer, even to die, for the faith, are silent and focused. The congregation, lay faithful, clergy, press, watch and pray with reverent anticipation. At the center of it all stands the celebrant, usually the senior-most cardinal or the dean of the College of Cardinals, delivering a homily not about power or policy, but about humility, service, and surrender. This moment isn't just tradition, it's preparation. Just as Jesus prayed before choosing his apostles, the Church now prays before selecting his vicar on earth. The mood is not one of politics, but of discernment. For the cardinals, this Mass is a final reminder. They are not just electors, they are stewards of something far bigger than themselves. And when the final hymn fades into silence, they depart not for deliberation yet, but for a second, even more intimate moment of devotion. The Litany of the Saints, the sacred chant of invocation that will accompany them into the next chapter of the day, the procession into the Sistine Chapel. But before we follow them there, let's pause and reflect. What kind of mindset must a person carry as they walk toward a decision that could change the course of 1 billion lives? The Litany of the Saints and procession. As the final notes of the morning Mass dissolve into stillness, the cardinals do not speak. They rise and move, slowly, deliberately, not toward conversation or debate, but toward a deeper silence. They've left the grandeur of St. Peter's Basilica. Now they assemble inside the Pauline Chapel, a smaller but equally sacred space within the Apostolic Palace. And here begins one of the most moving moments of the entire conclave, the Litany of the Saints. This chant isn't new. It's one of the oldest prayers in the Catholic Church, a solemn invocation that dates back over 1,000 years. In Latin, the names of saints are called out one by one, each met with the response, Ora pro nobis, pray for us. The saints invoked span every age and every walk of life. Apostles, martyrs, mystics, scholars, popes, virgins, hermits. It's as if the entire communion of saints is being asked to join this moment, to stand shoulder to shoulder, invisibly, with the cardinals as they prepare to make one of the most consequential decisions in modern religious history. And here's the beauty of it. This isn't a performance. There are no cameras allowed in the Pauline Chapel during the chant. What happens here is between the cardinals, the saints, and God. Then comes the procession. Led by the cross, flanked by singing choirs and chanting clergy, the 133 electors begin their journey from the Pauline Chapel to the Sistine Chapel. It's a short walk, but it carries the weight of centuries. The floor beneath them is polished marble, the walls lined with Renaissance art, and the air thick with incense and quiet anticipation. Each step echoes not only across stone, but across history, connecting them with generations of cardinals who walked this very path before them. And now we arrive. The cardinals file into the Sistine Chapel, one by one under the gaze of Michelangelo's Last Judgment, a painting that reminds them, visually and powerfully, that this task is not theirs alone, that they are being watched not just by the world, but by eternity. Once all are inside, the doors are sealed. But before that final moment, each cardinal takes a sacred oath, swearing before God and the Church to maintain absolute secrecy, to vote freely, and to follow their conscience without pressure. Then the voice rings out, extra omnes, everyone else out. With those two words, centuries of tradition, discipline, and mystery come crashing down into a single, quiet moment. The doors are shut. The world is left waiting. What happens next takes place behind locked doors. The first round of ballots, the murmured prayers, the cautious glances, and the beginning of discernment. But before we step into that, we pause once more. Because this moment, the closing of the door, is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of something timeless. Inside the conclave, secrecy, symbolism, and the first vote. The doors are now closed. Outside, the world waits. Inside, 133 cardinals sit beneath Michelangelo's massive fresco of the Last Judgment. It's not just art, it's a visual reminder of divine accountability. Every cardinal who enters the Sistine Chapel does so not as a politician, but as a man who will one day stand before God. This is not a negotiation room. It is a sanctuary of discernment. The air inside the chapel is still. There's no applause, no music, only the whispered sound of robes, of footsteps, of breath. Every word, every glance, every choice is now governed by oath-bound secrecy and centuries of carefully preserved ritual. At this point, the cardinals prepare for the most solemn moment of their role, casting the first vote for the next pope. But before any ballot is marked, one by one, the cardinals rise and speak a Latin oath aloud. I call as my witness Christ the Lord, who will be my judge, that I shall vote for the one who, before God, I think should be elected. No name has been written yet, and already the weight of eternity is in the room. Each cardinal receives a ballot, handwritten in Latin, carefully folded and marked in secrecy. They approach the altar individually, holding their ballot high. With reverence, they declare, Testa Christum Dominum, qui me judicaturis est, me eligere in meum judicium unquem secundum Deum judico eligi debere. I call Christ the Lord to witness that my vote is given to the one who, before God, I think should be elected. And then, the ballot is placed into a ceremonial urn, shaped like a golden chalice with a lid. After the final vote is cast, the ballots are counted one by 3 cardinals chosen as scrutineers. If no one receives the required 2/3 majority, in this case, at least 89 votes, the ballots are burned. And here's where tradition meets symbolism again. The smoke. The burned ballots are mixed with special chemicals, either white smoke or black. Black smoke, fumata nera, tells the crowd outside, no pope yet. White smoke, fumata bianca, signals we have a pope. But after the first round, especially in modern times, black smoke is almost always expected. It tells the world that the process is underway, that prayer, discernment, and conversation are beginning, not just among the cardinals, but among Catholics across the globe. And here's something most people don't realize. Between voting sessions, the cardinals don't just sit in silence. They return to the Domus Sanctae Marthae, their temporary residence within Vatican City. Over meals, walks, and shared prayers, they talk, they listen, they form impressions of each other, of leadership qualities, theological priorities, personalities. The conclave may be governed by secrecy, but it is also deeply human. As the hours pass, the world outside remains focused on a single chimney. Pilgrims wait in the square, news cameras zoom in, journalists guess, and yet the true story is unfolding not in headlines, but in conscience. Inside that chapel, decisions are being made that could affect global diplomacy, the Church's moral voice, and the direction of one of humanity's oldest institutions. So what happens when white smoke finally rises? Who is told first? What does the new Pope say? And what does Habemus Papam really mean to a watching world? That's where we'll go next. White smoke and the meaning of a new Pope. The chapel is still, the ballots are counted again. And then, after however many rounds it takes, whether it's day 1 or day 3, the threshold is crossed. One man receives at least 2/3 of the votes. He is asked one simple, profound question. Do you accept your canonical election as Supreme Pontiff? If he says yes, the next question is, by what name shall you be called? And just like that, a new chapter in church history begins. Now the white smoke rises, Fumata Bianca, billowing into the Vatican sky. The bells of St. Peter's ring out. In the square below, thousands cheer, many with tears in their eyes. It's not just emotion, it's recognition that something larger than life just happened. A new shepherd has been chosen. A new voice will now guide more than 1.3 billion Catholics across continents, cultures, and crises. Back inside, the new Pope is dressed in white for the first time. He kneels in the room of tears, so named because many men have been overwhelmed there by the weight of what they've just accepted. It's not a victory lap, it's a moment of solitude, humility, and sometimes tears. Then comes one of the most iconic moments in the Catholic world, the papal announcement. The Cardinal Protodiakon steps out onto the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica. The crowd goes silent, cameras roll, flags wave. And then in Latin, Annuntio vobis gaudium magnum, Habemus Papam. I announce to you a great joy, we have a Pope. He reveals the name, first the birth name, then the papal name. Cheers erupt. The world finally knows. A few moments later, the new Pope steps out onto the balcony. He raises his hand, not in power but in peace, and before he speaks, he prays. This is more than spectacle. This is succession. A line that stretches back to St. Peter, the first Bishop of Rome. And now the questions begin. What kind of leader will he be? Will he speak for the poor, the youth, the persecuted? Will he challenge or comfort? Will he be bold or bridge building? No one knows yet. But that's the mystery and the hope of this moment. That even as the Church honors tradition, it opens itself once again to the unknown future. And that's what makes this event, every time it happens, so captivating, not only for Catholics, but for the world. That behind closed doors, in prayer and silence, a decision is made that could shape the spiritual and moral landscape of the entire planet. So whether you believe in divine guidance, human wisdom, or something in between, there's no denying the power of what the conclave represents. Unity, continuity, and the unshakable belief that the Spirit still moves. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the 2025 conclave. If you found this episode insightful, please subscribe, share, and stay with us as we continue to explore faith, history, and the forces shaping our world. Until next time, Pace Bene. Peace and all good. Why the Papal Conclave still matters in the 21st century. As we close this deep look into the conclave of 2025, perhaps the most important question we can ask is not who became Pope, but why this ritual still matters. Why in an age dominated by algorithms, political upheaval, and a fast-paced digital culture, do billions still pause to watch smoke rise from a chimney in Rome? Why does the election of a single religious figure, held behind closed doors, spoken in Latin, bound by centuries-old tradition, still grip the attention of global media, inspire reflection among believers and skeptics alike, and spark passionate dialogue across ideologies? The answer may lie in something deeper than religion alone. The conclave touches a longing that modern society often forgets, a yearning for mystery, order, and meaning. We live in an age of noise, opinions shouted online, headlines that refresh every 5 minutes, news cycles that burn bright and disappear. But the conclave? It's different. It's slow. It's sacred. It doesn't answer to ratings or politics. It answers to eternity. That's why people around the world, even those who aren't Catholic or even religious, find themselves strangely moved by it. The moment a new pope steps onto that balcony, something symbolic happens. He's not just a spiritual leader, he's also a global voice for conscience, a moral compass for a fractured world. Whether it was John Paul II confronting communism and calling the youth to faith, or Pope Francis calling out global indifference to poverty and climate change, the papacy can move people and policies. It has reach, it has weight. But this moment also reminds us of the human side of faith. The Pope isn't a superhuman figure. He's a man flawed, finite, often aging, sometimes overwhelmed, called to bear the weight of Peter's keys. And that's perhaps the most moving part. The Church doesn't elect an angel, it elects a servant. And the entire process, from the Mass to the oath, from the ballots to the blessing, reminds us that power, when truly sacred, begins with humility. Let's pause and reflect on something powerful. The Papal Conclave is one of the very few global institutions that chooses its leader not through lobbying or through discernment and anonymity. No speeches, no slogans, no televised debates, just prayer, silence, and the weight of conscience. And maybe, just maybe, that's why it still captures hearts. Because in a world where everything is loud, the conclave whispers something countercultural. The quiet still matters. The soul still matters. God might still speak. Now, with the election complete, attention turns to the early days of the new papacy. Who will this new pope be? Not just by name, but by action. Will he be a reformer, a unifier, a protector of tradition, a voice for the marginalized? His first homily, his first gestures, his first trip. These early signs will be closely watched, not for gossip, but for guidance. Because in an unstable world, people want not just answers, but anchors. And here's where we turn the lens on ourselves. The election of a pope isn't just about who leads the church. It's a moment that invites each of us, Catholic or not, to ask, what do I believe in? What am I called to serve? What kind of world do I want to help build? Whether you're in the pews of a cathedral or watching from a smartphone across the world, the sight of that white smoke invites you into the moment, into history, into hope. In a world deeply divided by war, inequality, climate crisis, and cultural tension, the image of 133 men from 70 countries coming together in a centuries-old chapel, setting aside nationality and personal ambition to listen to the Spirit, is a powerful contrast. It may not be perfect, it may not be fast, but it reminds us that some decisions are worth waiting for, some voices are worth listening to, and some traditions, when rooted in meaning, still speak louder than technology ever could. So as the world now begins to follow this new chapter of the Catholic Church, let us carry something from the conclave with us. Not just the name of a new pope, but the value of silence, the power of humility, and the enduring possibility that even in our cynical age, faith, discernment, and grace still have a place. Thank you for walking with us through this sacred journey. If this episode brought you clarity, wonder, or reflection, consider sharing it. And if you'd like to hear more episodes that explore the sacred in our secular world, stay subscribed and stay curious. Until next time, Pace Bene. Peace.